4, 3, 2, 1.
Action!
Welcome and thank you for joining Pure Michigan Properties Podcast. We are on our 11th episode. My name is Shalonda Wather and I'm joined with...
Hey, my name is Dylan Mostyn.
My great friend and realtor here.
And my favorite co-host, Shalonda.
Thank you. Hey, I want to shout out my co-host, Dylan, because we had a holiday gala and Dylan here received an award. And so I wanted to congratulate you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Because what you guys don't see behind the scenes is that Dylan is always working hard and he puts his best effort forward to constantly grow and improve. So
thank you, I appreciate that. You looked stunning at the gala, by the way.
Thank you.
Stunning. Like I was going back through the photos that we took. You're like glowing in them.
Am I?
Yes.
I have to show you.
I don't know if you've seen them, but yeah, I have to show you.
I love it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Indeed.
So before we jump into the episode, let's talk about some great things that's been going on or things that are happening. So do you want to kind of let the audience know what's been going on?
You know what? I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because I'll say my last couple of weeks have been kind of rough. But here's the thing. Change perspective, right? Always change your perspective.
Okay.
I think. And I jotted down this quote, right? And it's anytime something worthwhile has happened in my life, it's been because I did the thing that I was afraid of.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'll say this. That may sound scary a little bit, but let's, again, change perspective, right? So life happens, right?
For sure.
And the one thing that resonates in our mind, I will say, that we don't do should be the thing that we consider doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, I know for me, there's been so many things like I'll like put off, like as simple as like cleaning my room, right? That's the things that I need to be doing.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, even in the industry, right, there's the 80-20 rule,
yes.
Right? 20% of the work that we do goes towards the business, but that's the stuff that we need to focus on because that gets us to our 80% to make the 100% all come together. And
it's that percentage or that thing that we're afraid of doing that actually helps us move forward intentionally. So,
yeah.
But why do we not? Let me ask you this. Why do you think we don't do that one thing?
I think it's just overthinking.
Overthinking?
For me, like, I was watching a TikTok video, and it's like, it said we need to change the way we verbalize the things that we don't want to do. So, like, for me, like, let's say, like, cleaning my room, it seems like a big, daunting task.
Okay.
But it's really not. If I took 30 minutes and just did it, my room would be spotless.
There we go.
Not spotless, probably. It would be very organized, to say the least.
Okay.
But,
And let me ask you this. What's the difference in your mindset when you're in that more organized space versus the disorganization?
oh my god, my mind feels more like clear and I can think better. Like that's the funny thing is like I know I will feel great once I get it done. But it's the way like I speak about it. It's like, oh, it's gonna take me forever. This is gonna be a daunting task. Like, no, I need to switch my words, the way I speak about it. Because power of the tongue to me is so important.
Yes, it is.
The way we speak, how we speak, and what we say.
Yes, it is.
Genuinely shapes who we are.
Absolutely.
And I'm very intentional about the words I use.
Absolutely.
So like when something seems hard or just hard, I guess.
Okay.
I say it's a challenge to me because I love a challenge.
Okay.
I love to do something that people don't think I can do. So it's like I'm in competition with myself, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Now I get to go to show up and show out.
That's it.
So that I use the word instead of it's going to be hard. It's going to be I don't want to do it. Dylan,
okay.
That's going to be a challenge. Okay, prove it then.
Prove it. And so I guess that kind of leads us into our topic today.
Yeah.
You know, preparing to meet with your realtor. I think that sometimes people opt not to start their journey in real estate just because either they've overthunk. Is that a word?
Overthink?
No, overthunk.
Thunk?
It was.
I've never heard of
I
that.
know, right? Neither have I. Just because they're caught up in their mind, though.
Yeah.
You know, we become overthinkers at some point, or the fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah.
And so
I think that's also a big part of it is we just don't know and it scares us.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people, when they get scared, they become paralyzed. They don't do anything.
Absolutely.
They just stop. And sorry not to cut you off,
No.
but I'm just to say one thing, is in school for like me, like I remember the way like teachers would talk about things like, oh, it's scary, it's a daunting task, and like that's why like even like for me, like doing homework, I'm like, okay, well, teacher said it's gonna be challenging, I don't want to do it anymore. So like hearing that and kind of like picking those kind of things up, I was like,
yeah.
oh, like that's why like for me, like I used to be very much like, oh, that's intimidating, that's gonna be hard to do, it's gonna take a long time, and then I would stop. But it's just all about the words you use.
Absolutely.
And the mindset you have behind it as well.
Yeah. And that's why changing perspectives, right? Change your perspective, change the way you speak.
I will say, just try it for a week.
Okay.
To anyone listening, just try changing the way you speak for a week. And just being just present is so important.
Yes.
Understanding what you're saying and how you're saying it.
Yeah.
But also recognizing that when you're saying it.
Indeed.
To say like, oh shoot, I just said I'm going to be anxious. No, don't say you're going to be anxious. Because you might be.
But let's even address that, right?
Okay.
So where does the anxiety come from? Is it because you have, again, typically it's the unknown.
Yeah.
Or being in an uncomfortable position,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or not being true to yourself, right? That's where a lot of anxiety comes from. So what if we prepared ourselves, right? Because when opportunity meets, what it says, when preparation meets opportunity, all good things are to happen.
I'm so glad you said that.
And so, you like that?
I love that. No, honestly, put that on a little picture and hang it up at my
Okay.
house. No, but what you said is genuine though, because honestly, the more you're prepared for something, the less anxious you will feel because you feel more confident, right?
Right.
So for me, even like let's say like for a CMA, a comparative market analysis, when I'm going to a house to say this is what I think your value is, I like to go above and beyond.
Sure.
And I will do it 3 different ways
Okay.
rather than just one and take that answer and go with it. Because
Absolutely.
I don't feel comfortable just with one answer. And that gives me anxiety going to someone saying, this is what I think your largest investment is worth.
Okay.
I'd rather be so sure with what number I'm going to give you.
For sure. Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, you might just piss someone off with that answer when you're saying, hey, I think your house is worth $350 and they think their house is worth $500,000. But I want to feel confident in the data and the statistics that I'm showing
Absolutely.
you to say, hey, this is what X system gave me. This is what Y system gave me. This is what Z system gave me.
Yes.
And this is why I think your house is worth X, Y, and Z.
And so you put a lot of effort into it, right?
For sure.
A lot of research, and I guess for our audience, right? Let's discuss the effort that they should put in.
I think that's fantastic because at the end of the day, working with a realtor, it's a 2-way street.
Indeed, I think so. And there are some preliminary steps I think that has to happen before any individual seek to begin their real estate journey.
For sure, I
And so,
would definitely agree.
yeah, because we're putting in all the effort, like you said, 1, 2, 3 systems. You look at those
Systems,
3
models,
systems
all these
and
things.
different models, and you're comparing your systems and models to give them a clear, concise understanding and decision about your research.
Definitely.
And so I feel like that, like you said, a 2-way street. We want you all to be able to go in and give us a clear understanding of what you're looking for as well.
Definitely.
Is that fair?
I would think that's fair. Actually, before we dive in,
Okay.
let's kind of talk about what's going on in our community. Let's talk about some things that are happening, some events maybe.
Okay.
I know I have a couple. I don't know if you prepared a couple, but
Sure.
I have one that I thought, or I have two actually that are interesting. So, for the kiddos out there, on February 29th, Legoland Ninjago Days, families can become spinjitzu masters with powered up activities, expertise, and Lego builds during the all-new Lego Ninjago Dragons Rising event. So if you search up Legoland Ninjago Days, you'll find where you're able to get tickets for you and your family. You can go.
That sounds fun.
And experience it. But I want to talk about this one because this one might be very popular, especially with.
Real quick, is that the Legoland at Great Lakes Crossing?
No, not 100% sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Just look it up.
guys.
Look it up. But this one actually might be exciting for a lot of people. Is Taylor Swift Laser Light Show, February 29th. So the same day. So if you're either a Lego guy or a Taylor Swift girly.
A Swifter. Is
A Swiftie.
A Swiftie. I'm sorry.
Swiftie.
A Swiftie.
So if you're a Swiftie, you might want to go to this. This is on February 29th at Longwave Planetarium in Flint.
Ooh.
Laser Taylor Swift takes her biggest hits and brings them to life in dazzling laser lights. Try Laser AC/DC versus Guns N' Roses following the Laser Taylor... Wow, that's a tongue twister. Laser Taylor Swift show at 8 p.m. So that's in Flint on February 29th.
Okay.
So if you love Taylor Swift, you might want to go check that out.
Those sound like some pretty cool events. And so my events aren't so cool.
Well, tell me anyways.
But I definitely will. So these are some events that just resonated with me, or not even some events, some places that has resonated with me that I love. If you're looking to dive in the culture and you love an art experience and you're a resident of Wayne County, Oakland County, or Macomb County, check out the Detroit Institute of Arts, one of my favorite places.
We still have to go.
We do have to go. We have to aim to go really soon.
We'll get there.
The admission is free, again, for the Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County residents. Donations are accepted. But if you are, if you're experiencing the winter blues, like some of us, then check out Campus Marshall, where they have the ice skating rink.
Yes. Yeah, I've never been like on an ice skating rink or anything. But I doubt it's on my bucket list.
Do you know how to ice skate?
I can figure it out. I might fall a couple times, but that's the most fun part about it.
But I think that they have those walker aids or those aids.
Oh no, you'll not catch me with one of those. I'll fall on my butt.
You'll figure it out. Okay.
I'm forced to figure it out now.
And one last thing, and I bring this last this last establishment up for two reasons. One, it's one of my favorite places, and the second reason is it actually was just recognized by Mr. Chime Time, the food critic, who has been visiting Michigan or Detroit restaurants.
Yeah.
And so prior to his visit, I've been telling people to check out this place, right? The Detroit Pepper Company. It's a bell pepper based menu.
Okay.
Fresh peppers grown right in the backyard or in the garden of the company's garden.
Yeah.
Food is prepared to order or by order.
Okay.
And so it's fresh food, it's great food. You just gotta try it. It's a treat.
Did you know, sorry, this is so off topic. Did you know that Eminem has a restaurant?
Yeah,
Mom's Spaghetti.
Yes.
I remember I was on Facebook a couple months ago and I saw that. I was like, I have to go there one time.
I've been.
Is it good?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Well, no. Sorry, guys. Wait a minute.
Eminem is not gonna like this.
Let me not say that. So I didn't try the spaghetti. I don't. For if anyone who knows me knows that I don't eat spaghetti.
Okay.
For one, so. Let me not discredit Mom's Spaghetti because I don't eat spaghetti. So I did not try the food.
That's fair.
It's inside of I believe it's called the Union Street Restaurant.
Yeah.
And so it's a small area, and upstairs they have a little museum.
Okay.
And so the kids and I, we were at JoJo's Shack Bar, which is on that same strip as the Mom Spaghetti, the Union Street Diner, or I can't think of the name of the restaurant. And so we stopped in there. It was a very cool experience.
Yeah.
Mr. Chime Time also did a food review for Mom Spaghetti, and
it was a review?
it was a review.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's it. You have to go find out yourself.
So let's just before Eminem cancels us, let's just dive into the podcast.
Indeed. And
So
Eminem, I'm from 8 Mile too, so all of.
do you want to be a guest on the podcast?
Come check us out.
So let's talk about what a client should do before they're ready to get into the process.
Yeah, sure. So I think in general, it's kind of cool, or you should at least like kind of profile yourself. And so, and when I say that, it's look at your own work history, your own like income annually. Understand, we've given our big whys as to why we're in real estate. Also, from a client perspective or someone entering into a real estate transaction, understand what your big why is.
Yeah. So on that, it's like your motivation, right? Is what is the goal behind what you're trying to do? When you're selling a house, is it I want to sell my house because I want to move into a bigger house, I want to upgrade, I want to downsize, I don't want stairs anymore. Let's start on a basic level, right?
Yep.
What are you looking for, and why are you looking for it?
And what does that do for you? What does this transaction do for you?
Such a good question.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
How does it set you up for the future? I think it's a great point.
I love that you said that. What does it do for you, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's nothing,
right.
Well, there has to be something, right?
It has to be something.
It might not be like the most glamorous reason why, like maybe it's just like I just can't do stairs anymore.
Absolutely.
But what will that do for you? What does not having stairs? It'll help you alleviate pain, maybe.
Indeed.
Maybe you can just have a better quality of life.
Absolutely.
And it's just starting off with those basic questions, really. Like they sound stupid to say, but they're so important to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Like look in the mirror and just say, Dylan, why are we moving? Right?
And I also think that it gives you opportunity just to be realistic, right?
Yes.
You have to be realistic.
And especially, with like today's market, like understanding what you're looking for is very important. And when I'm meeting with people, I say, please be as detailed as possible. Because when I go through a buyer's consultation, I'll tell a lot of people, like, okay, this is what I'm going to put into my system, my database, to start searching for homes for you. And when I'm sending them over to you, I like to say we're playing the dating game.
Yeah.
You swipe right if you like it, you swipe left if you don't. But the most important part is getting that feedback. But if we can get ahead of that and I can get a better, clear idea of what you're looking for, I'm not going to be annoying you as much with emails in your inbox and then me reaching out to you saying, hey, what are your thoughts on this one? You could have just told me, hey, I don't want X, Y, and Z, or I do want X, Y, and Z. Now that I can throw that into the search criteria, and that helps the whole process be smoother.
That's right. And you know what? Hey, let's swipe left or swipe right. That's my tagline for my subject. I'm sending out properties.
Ooh, that's a good one. Can I steal that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
it's
you.
yours.
I'll give you credit. I'm sure.
And so, like you said, that feedback is important.
So important.
And then, again, knowing your goals, being realistic, coupling those two things with the reality of what's actually out here.
Yeah.
Now, have an open mind, because here's the thing: location, uniqueness, and like the space. If you have those three things, you can pretty much make a property into whatever you want it to be.
Right.
So,
I mean, even like I'm assuming you do this exact same thing in your consultations. Is like you ask what are the most important parts that you're looking for. So like, I'll say location, price, school district, area, and I'll just kind of like list off a whole list of things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, tell me what you want me to check, because now I have a better idea of your motivations.
Yeah.
Because you could be telling me this, but once I kind of dive deeper and ask those important questions, I might get a different answer than what you're really telling me. And that's why it's so important to ask not only a lot of questions, but the right questions.
The right questions as well. And so let's go over some of the right questions, because when you reach out to the realtor, you essentially want to interview your realtor and get to know a little bit about their experience as well.
I tell people you should at least interview 3.
Okay.
I think 3 is the magic number because you kind of get a different perspective on each one.
That's fair.
I mean, unless you're like heart set, then you can just do 1, which is totally fine. If you know, like, and trust someone, for sure, go with them. That's your bread and butter right there. But if you're just kind of like, hey, I'm searching for someone and I just Googled realtors, just interview 3. An average consultation, I feel like I can't say that. A consultation on my end usually lasts between 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, on average.
That's average.
Yeah.
Some are longer, some are shorter, right? Sometimes you don't have a consultation.
Please have a consultation.
It's so important. It's so important. If your realtor's not having a consultation with you, maybe you should interview another realtor and just kind of get a different perspective on
I would
things.
agree.
But some of the important questions, like one, I always love to ask: how do I win with you, and how do I lose with you?
Mm-hmm.
That's something I brought up on the podcast before. I think that it's not a question that they think that I'm going to ask them, but it makes them think for a second. It's like, oh, what do I like and what do I not like? Like one guy told me, do not blow up my phone.
Hey, I'm sorry, Dylan.
Okay.
So you guys jot these questions down.
Please do. You're gonna want them for later.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're totally good. That was it. I'm so glad you said that. Yes, please write it down. But how do I win with you? How do I lose with you? Is such an important question. I always ask in my consultations, and everyone gives me a different answer because everyone is different, right? And that's important. And I will expect you to ask me that same question.
That's fair.
Because it's a two-way street.
Yep.
That's how real estate works.
Absolutely.
I put in the work, and I'm going to ask you to do the work too.
And so, the next question I would say what is your experience?
Yes.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's an important question. Just so, for one, it gives you an opportunity to understand who your realtor is, their experience, and before you guys automatically think that, hey, this realtor may be new or be more seasoned in the industry, and so you already have in your mind maybe a more seasoned realtor. That's not always necessarily the right direction to go in, and this is why I say that, right? As we go, I guess, spend more time in our careers, we tend to carry on the information that we learned in the beginning.
Yeah.
Versus implementing the new information. And then also, is your realtor the type of realtor that believes in continuously developing their skills?
So important.
Are they just implementing those skills that they learned at the beginning of their career? So I feel like newer realtors, and I'm not going to say that. I take that back. Newer realtors in our brokerage, right, are ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Because of the coaching that's available, because of the resources and support that's available, and also just because in some brokerages, and not to speak on any down or anything on the brokerages, but they don't have as much coaching and training as our brokerage provides. So
I'm not going to throw out names, but I mean, I have a couple friends who got into real estate, and they joined brokerages without kind of really interviewing them as much as they were interviewing him or her.
Yeah.
And they joined and they're like, this is not what I thought real estate was. I was like, well, what did you think it was? And they kind of list off what they had an idea for. I'm like, well, that's what my brokerage offers. We do have the coaching. We do have the resources. We do have mentorships. We are able to meet with our leadership team, ask questions, get advice.
Bingo.
And it's so, to me, that was one of the most important parts, especially being in my first year.
Yes.
Is you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? So to be able to go ask questions and learn from people only helps me with my skills, my craft, and the way I service my clients.
And see, in some brokerages, it's like a competitive environment.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
so,
a lot actually.
Yeah, and a lot of them. And so you have agents who are not willing to share that that support, you know, and that's important. And so, what is your experience, and maybe who do you have to back you?
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, newer agents in our office, we go through a coaching program. It's a year-long program.
Yep.
That's amazing. Especially if, let's say, we're working with someone. I tell people, you're not just getting me as an agent. You're getting my whole
You're getting
coaching
300 and something agents
right.
for one, because...
And it's funny because a lot of people will come to me like, oh, you're newer. I'd rather do someone who's more experienced. Well, I have the experience. You're just not, they're not in the room with me right now.
Yeah.
Like,
and I'll say this because being by Dylan and I, we're newer in the industry.
mm-hmm.
We've had some success early on in our career, and so I think that that is contributed not only to ourselves, but again, the people that we have around us that supports us in our brokerage.
And that's what I think could separate a fantastic agent from an agent that just kind of is winging it every day. And it's sometimes I feel bad because like my friends will be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, maybe that's because your brokerage, they're not really helping. Like I heard this one story. It's not one of my friends, but they were trying to get a hold of their broker, couldn't get an answer, and they lost a deal because of it.
Oh.
And like, it's not just like the broker didn't answer his phone and like the deal was like, it was like a couple days. Like, how does your broker not get back to you? Where were they? On vacation. So, as
I should have seen could see my facial expression.
As a client, I think it's really important to say what kind of coaching, what kind of mentoring, or what kind of resources and tools does your brokerage offer you that will help us in our transaction.
And I think one thing to add to that may be very important is understanding that when you decide to work with a realtor under a commitment, that commitment is with the actual broker. We work as the designated agent in the transaction. So understand who you're working with. And like Dylan said, the tools and resources that's available to that designated agent.
For sure. So let's talk about another question that I think clients should be asking their realtors. And this is, I don't know if this will come off as a surprise to some people, but asking your realtor, are you full-time or are you part-time?
Important.
So I only say that because maybe like your time or the realtor's time, they can only show houses or they can only work during designated times of the day. Sometimes having a full-time realtor can have a benefit. Sometimes having a part-time realtor can have a benefit. It just really depends on what you're looking for and I don't want to say the quality of service, but the flow of service, I guess you can say, that you're getting, right? Are you able to text your realtor and say, hey, can we go see a house at 2 p.m.? Well, no, I'm working my other job at that time. I can't do that. Well, maybe you just lost out on that house because of it. And that's like a reality of what a part-time can happen.
Yeah. And so know this as well, because like Dylan said, you know, each opportunity has a cost that's associated with it. And if your realtor isn't available at the time that you may be available, you know, what else can be implemented and what does that opportunity cost if they're not available?
And that's not to say like part-time realtors are not a good thing, because they still might have tools and resources to get you in that house. Like I know for us, we have a chat that's saying, hey, can someone please go show this house to my client?
Absolutely.
I'm not available. I just need you to get them in because they wanted to see it. So yeah, no, it's not to say part-time realtors are bad. It's just asking the follow-up questions with that.
Yeah.
And really understanding, is that going to be a good fit for the dynamic you're looking for?
Absolutely, because some part-time realtors have other individuals that they partner with who, you know, may be available during the transaction where they're not, who can step in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not a bad thing.
Another
But you have to
question.
understand that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think that a client has to understand that and also determine and know what their boundaries are when sitting down to speak with a realtor.
Another question that I think is important now that we're just sitting here and talking about this is your realtor on a team or are they an individual agent?
Yeah.
And that's going to depend on what you're looking for as a client. Are you looking to get a one-on-one service from just a singular agent, or are you looking to have a buyer's agent, a transaction coordinator, the marketing person, where you're going to be working with a team of people now? There's benefits and cons to both.
Absolutely. I would agree.
It just really depends on, as the client perspective. I know some people are like, I only want to work with one person. I only want them to know about what's going on in my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are like, I'd rather have a team full of experts on each individual section of the transaction.
Correct.
It just depends.
It just depends on you. But guess what? Ask these questions. That way you have a clear understanding from the onset of a transaction.
And then it also just kind of helps you to set the expectations of what's going to happen if you decide to work with that realtor. Okay, cool. Now I figured out you're an individual agent, so it's just going to be me and you working on this transaction the whole entire time.
That's right.
Now that expectation has been set. It just helps you get a better picture of how the transaction will go, the whole process.
I feel like that's, that works. And know that it's also okay to show your interest and commitment to a realtor. You know, you don't necessarily have to be afraid or shy away. Some people think that if they put their poker face on, that they'll get better results. But listen, I think that if you're open and you have you feel like the relationship will be beneficial from the beginning, and it's, honesty and integrity, and morals and values are there, then you'll be able to tell, I guess.
I like to tell people it's kind of like if you have to go to court and you hire a lawyer, you're going to tell them all the information. You're going to be open and honest with them because they're going to be representing you to the best of their abilities with the information that you gave them.
Absolutely.
That's why it's so important when you decide to work with a realtor to be open and just be accepting of that process and not to be closed off, hidden. The more information we can help you or gather from you is the more information or the better results we can give you.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the analogy I give people in my buyer's consultations. I'm like, take a deep breath. Let's not tense up. This is supposed to be an exciting process at the end of the day. But for me to help you, you need to help me.
Yep.
Simple as that.
And I agree with that. And so I really don't. Let me see what else. I guess a decent question too would be, what value do I get from this service?
That's a fantastic question. Let's dive into that one because genuinely, I don't think a lot of people understand what we bring to the table and why we are part of the transaction. I mean, I've heard from people, aren't you just a door opener? Whoa, no, I don't just open doors. It's a part of my job for sure,
absolutely.
But it's not all I do, right? We do the negotiating, we help with the transaction coordination of the whole process. We go from A to Z.
And understanding the market trends, that's a different skill level, because in my business, I don't look at real estate just from a financial transaction. I look at it from an economic standpoint.
Yeah.
And so you have to know what the market trends are and be able to explain to someone in layman's terms,
right,
and
help them make a decision saying, okay, let's say this is what the market's at, this is what the house is offered or listed at. Is that a good list price? Should we offer more? Should we offer less? Where are we in a position to offer? And it comes down to research, which, I mean, we talked about this on the podcast before, is like, the reason why we love what we do is because we love to do research.
That's it.
I remember you told me that literally just sparked a whole light bulb in my head.
Yes.
So genuinely, like, that's another question you should ask your realtor.
Yeah.
This is kind of like, I don't want to say like a quiz, but you can be like, so tell me about the market. And if they kind of stumble over their words, that might be a red flag.
Yes.
It most likely is a red flag.
If you're a realtor and you don't know what the market is like, yeah, that's a red flag.
So that's just a kind of way, I don't want to say you can trick your realtor, but like definitely just kind of like
If you
question your realtor, quiz them a little bit, just to see their level of expertise.
Absolutely.
Another question that I think is important, and this might be just situational based, well, this will be situational based, but let's say you're a client and you're like a first-time home buyer. Great. Is the agent who I'm working with specialized in first-time home buying? Is that important to you? Or let's say you're a senior and you're looking to either downgrade or just you're ready to move into independent living, assisted living, whatever. Are you working with a senior specialist? Because that transaction is going to be way different than a first-time home buyer.
Absolutely.
And I think dealing with your largest investment, you want to deal with the trusted, knowledgeable people.
Yeah.
So that's another question you should ask. And make sure at least like they can kind of back it up in a way. Say, hey, like, okay, tell me why you say you are a senior specialist. Kind of dive into those questions.
I would agree.
Because anyone could say, yes, I'm a senior specialist, or yes,
what does that mean?
Right, what does that mean to you as a realtor?
Yeah.
What differentiates the whole process in that specialty?
Absolutely.
So just act like it, kind of how we're talking about in the very beginning.
Yeah.
It's not only asking the questions, asking the right questions. And having that knowledge of what questions to ask, right? And that's why you guys are watching this podcast today.
And we appreciate you for joining us as always.
Thank you so much. As always. And we're still waiting on the governor to give us...
Right. Hashtag Governor Whitmore.
Governor, come on.
Hashtag the governor.
But is there any questions that I feel that we're missing that are super important that we should let the audience know?
No, I think that covers it generally.
Yeah.
On a general basis, yeah.
If you're looking for a specific list of questions, we'd be happy to share a list of questions that if you're about to meet with a realtor, to at least have in front of you that you can go in. I'd like to say that realtor is going to interview you. You need to interview the realtor as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, especially if you're going to be working like in depth with them for like, let's say 3 to 4 months, doing the whole process from A to Z. You want to make sure you at least like that person and you trust them. So don't skip out on the interview.
It's just like a job interview, right? So when you go for a job interview, the person on the other end, your employer has expectations, but you should also have expectations for your employer.
Yes.
And typically when you accept a job, it comes with employee handbook and you sign off, and so that then becomes a contract essentially. And so when you decide to move forward in your transaction with the realtor on a contractual basis, then understanding that your cooperation is one thing that's needed, that's required, that you owe, as well as what the services and duties and fiduciary duties that we owe.
It is so important to read your contracts and understand what they mean.
Yeah.
If you don't know what your contract is saying or you don't understand what it means and you're signing off on it, that's a red flag.
That's a red flag.
Really? Because
no, that's not the red flag. The red flag is if your realtor doesn't know what the contract is. Because here's the thing. I can't go into a consultation and present a contract if I don't know what it means. Because I can expect for the person on the client or the customer at that point to know what a contract, what it entails,
Mm-hmm.
unless they've done this several times. But each brokerage has their own contract, so
The contract is really there in terms to protect you, to protect us, to protect the whole transaction.
Yeah.
But understanding what terms are in there is so important.
Absolutely.
To understand where you're protected, what terms are really in there, and it also goes through like the process of like what we do for you as well, just so that's laid out. But it's so important to read those. Don't just, if a realtor just says, "Oh, here, sign this," ooh, maybe interview another realtor.
And especially if you're watching this or listening to this podcast, if you just sign without knowing, then you should have called us.
you're talking to the wrong people. So let's talk about how you get in contact with us. Shalonda, how do they get in contact with you?
Sure. As always, it's a pleasure to speak with you and actually hear your voice. So you can contact me by dialing 586-339-8321 or texting. That's fine as well. Or reach out to me at Shalonda, which is spelled SHALAUNDA.KW.com, and that's the app where you can. It's the website that'll guide you to download the app, but that's where all my contact information is located. And so you can also browse homes. And that's the best way to contact me.
Lots of great tools and resources on there as well. Just
absolutely,
if you're curious. So
I just updated it a few days ago.
So go check it out. Go check it out.
Dylan, let's hear how they can contact you. Tell the folks.
Best way is by my cell phone, so you can call or text to 248-891-9860. Or you can check out my website, Dylan, D-Y-L-A-N, Mostyn, MOSTYN.com. You can go around and check that out. I have not updated my website like Shalonda has, but there's still some great things on there. There's a contact us button on there, so you can figure out what my email is, all that great information. Like Shalonda said, would love to have a conversation with you. But yeah.
So I think that's it for us today. We will be looking to do this again.
I would hope so. So we will definitely see you guys next week, and we look forward to a different conversation then.
Absolutely. Hey, we have a treat coming up for you guys. So
do we want to tell them, or should we keep it a secret?
Stay tuned to find out.
Stay tuned. All right. Bye, guys.